Hey, I'm Tony, and today I want to talk about God. Does God exist? Fascinating question. Yeah, it's like an endless debate between science and religion. Does God exist? Who created the universe? Was it God, or was it gravity, or was it some other invisible or spiritual force we don't know about? Well, today we're gonna clear everything up. No, I'm just kidding. Who do you think I am? Do you think I'm Albert Einstein or something? Oh, hell no. I'm not gonna give you any answers on this question because there are none. Alright, but I'm gonna give you some food for thought. Does God exist? Science versus religion. Let's get to it. So where do we start? Let's start at the beginning of time. How did the universe came to existence? Well, according to Stephen Hawking, who was a famous scientist and who recently passed away, God bless him, is because, and I quote, because there is a law such as gravity, the universe can and will create itself out of nothing, end quote. That all sounds really good because he says gravity created the universe, and gravity is a mathematical concept for a certain invisible force that in reality, which sounds a lot like God. God is also an invisible force, but God is just a different description for the same phenomenon. Now, I'm not saying God and gravity is the same thing, but I am saying that God and gravity are ideas that describe something in reality. Really? Whoa, what did I just say? Let me explain. Bruce Lee once said, "Do not mistake the finger pointing at the moon for the real moon." What he means by that is what happens in religion. Well, in religion, we try to describe the world around us with these vivid stories about gods, angels, devils, and demons. But of course, those stories are not the real world, alright? Those stories are still stories, and yet most people who believe in religion, they believe in the stories instead of looking at the real world. They are not living in the real world. They are living in their own imaginary religion world. Actually, we're all doing that. We're all confusing our ideas about the world for the real world. I mean, look, I know this is really deep what I'm talking about right now, but what I'm trying to say is the word God is not God itself, right? The word God is a word or an idea that tries to describe something that has a basis in reality. Just like the word chair is not a real chair. Can you follow me? All right, you cannot sit on a word, but you can sit on the object that we call a chair. The word and the object is different. It's not the same thing. Yet when it comes down to things we cannot see, like God or gravity, we tend to confuse our ideas about it, and we are trying to prove our ideas about it, like God does exist, no, God does not exist. But we forget to, we just completely miss the point in doing that. I mean, of course God exists, and of course God doesn't exist. I mean, it's just a fucking word to describe something in reality. So instead of preaching your doctrines of what God is and what we need to do to be in harmony with God, we should rather seek to understand one another. I mean, understand that God is merely a word trying to describe something in reality. I think Socrates said, "I'm the wisest man alive, for I know one thing, and that is that I know nothing." And I love that quote so much because it makes him realize, it makes me realize that actually wisdom is not about preaching truth about your world or about the reality. Wisdom is realizing that actually our concepts do not even come close to the truth of reality. In the end, it's about living life itself, it's about experience itself. It's not about conceptual truth. There is no conceptual truth. Every concept, every concept, every theory, every perspective is merely a personal perspective. It's a human-made concept. What I'm trying to say with this is that we should stop confusing our ideas about the world for the real world. And we should stop thinking too much about the world and start to live more about the world. I mean, the irony is that every single religion teaches love, harmony, and how to live a balanced life. or something like that. Probably something like that. Yet, most religions, they cannot really, they cannot live together. They're like preaching, no, my religion is better than yours. But hey, dude, all the religions are basically the goddamn same thing. So why are you all fighting? Isn't that the opposite of what your religion is teaching? Shouldn't we seek to understand one another instead of trying to prove our concepts to others or disprove other people's concepts? I mean, science is really famous for that. I mean, I think Stephen Hawking was the guy that wrote The God Delusion. I mean, I thought, what the heck? I didn't read the book, so it's probably a good book, but the title just like, my God, why did you wrote that? I couldn't believe my eyes. That science was, I just lost my faith in science when I saw that title, because God damn it, you're just replacing one description of the world with another. Hey, look, you know, God does not exist. You know what does exist? Hey, gravity does exist. Gravity is cool, man. Let's all believe in gravity. You know, that's funny because science is actually the biggest religion at this moment. You know what's funny about it? Atheists are a very special kind of people. I mean, I used to be an atheist as well. But basically they're saying, hey, I do not believe in this kind of God description about the world. You know, I'm just going to replace it with my own description. That's like saying, hey, I don't believe in chairs, you know. I believe in buttholers. But chairs, they don't exist. I've never seen a chair before. They're overall everywhere. Buttholers, but no chairs. Never. Nope. It's like, dude. Cool. Now, alright, enough preaching. I know if you're an atheist, you probably think I'm a dick right now. But hey, I'm just trying to have a fun conversation about God and religion. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, let us all stop confusing our thoughts and our ideas about the world for the real world, and let us all stop to prove or disprove the world, and let us just accept that our minds are just not capable of understanding the world, alright? Let us just all become little Socrateses, or whatever Socrates in the plural is. But the point is, let us all just realize that we just cannot really know for sure, because our concepts about the world are not the real world. And I know this is some deep philosophy. This is really deep. But if there is one thing you should keep in your head about this, it's when it comes down to does God exist? It's like, think about the chair. This is the word chair. Is the word chair a real chair? No, it's not. It's the name of the chair. I mean, there's an object that has a basis in reality, and we give it the name chair. And that's the same thing with God. Let me explain why we invented God in the first place. Why did we invent religion in the first place? Well, imagine yourself thousands of years ago on this hostile planet. I mean, there was no technology. We were dumb fucks back then. We had no science, no books, no Wikipedia, no encyclopedias even. We didn't even have books. Writing had to be invented back then. And our speech, well, our language, the most words that we use today to describe things didn't even exist back then. So we were really dumb fucks back then, and everything around us was trying to kill us. So most people, or well, I think just everyone, was constantly in fear and in fight or flight. I mean, you just go out your cave, because that's where they used to live in caves, and there was a tiger trying to kill you. Now, how do you survive in such a world? Well, you make sure you try to make sense of the world around you, because otherwise, if you don't know what's happening around you, if you cannot make sense of the world around you, you're just gonna die, probably very soon. Imagine today if you would walk across the street and you would not know that if a car hits you that you die, then you're probably gonna just walk across the street and you're gonna get hit and you're dead. That's the same thing that if you would live thousands of years ago and you would go out of the cave alone as a 5-year-old kid, then yeah, chances are you would die. So their parents probably told, you know, if you go outside, the demon will catch you, or something like that. So that that little kid of 5 years old will never go out of the cave alone without their parents, otherwise the demon will catch them. Stories are very vividly to understand the world and to know the dangers about the world. But also, that's one side about the story of religion. But on the other hand, why do we invented God? Well, it's about to soothe ourselves. If we created powerful entities that apparently were by our side and they served as guardian angels and something to believe in, because it gave us a sense of safety, a sense of faith, and something to believe in. We also create like an afterlife. We believe that there is an afterlife, and I believe, well, it's also scientifically proven, sort of. I mean, I just made a video about it. Is a life after death? You can check it out. Basically, I did explain that there is a possibility of life after death. So we just created stories or descriptions of the world in order to make sense of the world. And so as we grew stronger and more intelligent, eventually we created philosophy, spirituality, and eventually we created science, because it required our technological advances to be more specific in how the world and reality works. So we began to observe more keenly into reality itself and into the very structures of how reality is built, including atoms and energy. And now we are way more smarter than used to be with religion. But the problem is now that all those smart fucks that they call themselves scientists, they are trying to disprove all the other subjects. Alright, that's not true. There are many smart, real smart scientists who appreciate and to understand other fields of study, and God bless them. The problem is that humanity has actually done that for the past history. We have been trying to prove and disprove each other concepts of the world. I don't know why, but we have done it. We have constantly done it, and that has caused tension between all countries and all, just the whole of humanity. I mean, just a clear example. Differences in opinion happen all the time, constantly, every single day. If you go to the mall or you go to school, you're gonna come across to someone that has a different opinion than you, alright? Now, I don't know how you deal with it, but some people do not appreciate it when you have a different opinion and you stay in it, you stand your ground. Some people really want to push their opinion onto you. And the problem is that there is a lack of understanding. Or they just have a lot of conviction. Look at me. I'm so convinced of my theory of the world that I'm making a video and posting it on YouTube. So yeah, if there is one person that is gonna share his opinion, it's gonna be someone like me. But the point is that we have done it our entire history of mankind, trying to disprove other people's concepts and proving our own concepts. And why is that? I think it's a lack of understanding. A lack of understanding. And it might sound innocent in the first place, but do not forget that there are wars. We are fighting wars, or we used to fight wars for merely religion, merely a difference in opinion. That's so stupid. That's so fucking stupid. How can we fight wars and kill thousands of people, millions of people, for just a difference in opinion? That's basically that. And the reason we fought all those wars is because, well, I'm not even going to go into that. Let me just go back to the solution, because the problem doesn't really, I mean, the problem is just the lack of understanding. Now, let me get the big picture. Imagine our world if we would all seek to understand one another. If we, instead of like trying to disprove that God exists or not, what if we would be able to upgrade our computer right here to be able to hold more perspectives on the same subject? I mean, intelligence or genius, becoming a genius is the ability to hold multiple perspectives on the same subject and understanding each one. Now, of course, if you're really a scientist, you're probably going to observe very deeply and find the right, most specific and accurate perspective that is in according with what you have observed, but that's a whole different story. That's why science is also quite superior to all the other fields of study. But in the end, science cannot live without the other studies, without the other ways of comprehending the world. I mean, because that's like what Albert Einstein said, I guess. Albert Einstein said something like, religion without science is lame, and science without religion is blind. Or it was religion without science is blind, and science without religion is lame. I don't know, some of one or the other. But basically the point is that it cannot live without each other. And the reason for it is because religion and science are actually opposites. Why is that? Because religion tries to explain the general existence of life in one concept, right? It tries to water it down to one idea of a creation, and we are the creature of the creator, or something like that. And science, on the other hand, is like completely opposite. Instead of creating a general vision about the world, it goes very deep on specific subjects and try to explain them, basically. Now, what if we could combine them? That would be very powerful. What if we could combine all fields of study, spirituality, philosophy, metaphysics, religion, science, if we could combine all fields of study, even psychokinesis, the study of human superpowers, the ability to levitate objects with your mind. What if, instead of condemning and fighting and disproving other people's concepts, why couldn't we just embrace all those concepts and strive to breach the potential of humans? I mean, we don't even have to do that, but what if we just seek to understand one another? We would live in harmony. We would actually do what all those religions were trying to teach us. But we got caught up in trying to prove all the religions to other people. Just like I'm doing right now, actually. I'm preaching my own thoughts. Well, I'm not preaching my own thoughts. I'm just explaining my thoughts in a quite an authoritarian way. Don't take it personal. I love you. I'm just sharing my thoughts, and I hope it was beneficial to you. So, does God exist? There is actually no real answer to this, but as Socrates said, I'm the wisest man alive, for I know one thing, and that is that I know nothing. And what I interpret about that quote is that we confuse thoughts or our ideas about the world for the real world, and in the end, our ideas about the world are not the real world. So in the end, we cannot really, truly know. We can't. From the moment you think you know the truth about reality, you're lost from reality because you're holding on to your idea of it. It's like if you want to go to New York and there is a sign that says, there is New York. Instead of going to New York, you just climb the sign. That's what all religions are doing. They're like, oh, well, the religion is pointing to some form of or a lifestyle, a way of life, or a way of seeing the world, a state of being. But instead of striving towards that state of being, instead of striving to become a sort of person of love, instead of becoming living in harmony with God, instead of that, people in religions, they try to prove their religion. They just climb the sign instead of going to point to where the religion is pointing. It's like what Bruce Lee said, do not mistake the finger pointing at the moon for the real moon. Do not mistake the word God for God itself. Thank you for watching. I hope you had something beneficial of this. It was some food for thought. What do you think about this subject? Do you think God exists? What is your culture? What is your religion? What is your state of being? How do you live life in general? How do you view life? Let me share it in the comments. I'm really fascinated. I'm really interested in other people's opinions and perspectives. So, thank you for watching. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, and peace.